So, I'm Kate McAllister, and welcome to our Chats with Changemakers Family Edition. So, this is going to be our first Changemaker Chat, our second attempt. The first one I didn't quite record properly, but here we are again today. Thank you all for coming. So, I have invited some amazing families that I've met in the last few years who have chosen to live their lives outside of the traditional model. And all of us live our lives differently, but what we have in common is that we're living our lives on our own terms. And what I want these chats to do is to open up the conversation about what it takes to do that. How do we have to change our mindsets? How do we have to change our daily routines? What is it that we have to do as families to get closer to this sense that we are free to live our lives as we want to? So I'm going to just invite each person to make a short introduction of who they are, where they are, and to describe how they live. And I'm going to start with Cassia. You're down here on my screen. You might be somewhere on everyone else's, but Cassia.
Hi, everyone. My name's Cassia. I live in Orlando, Florida. I have a family of 4, and we're entrepreneurs. My husband is a muralist, and I manage his career. If you've been to the Hive, then the mural on the Hive is my husband's artwork. How did I get into world schooling? I learned about it right before the pandemic. Was really interested with a posting I saw on Facebook for a school in Spain. And I was like, what is this? You know, I looked into it, thought it was a really cool concept to go somewhere and let the kids learn organically in a different space. But then we hit, COVID, and that didn't happen. And then as soon as like the worst time of COVID went over, there was a posting. I got an email from the World School and then introducing the Hive. And then that was my ticket to get out. I showed it to my husband. We decided right away. We booked it, and never having been to Dominican Republic, neither him nor I. So it was the first time we had gone somewhere where none of us had been. And it was a great introduction into world schooling. We loved it, and we were super excited. We had a wonderful time for the first semester of the Hive, for the first 6 weeks. And yeah, that's where we started, and we've done a few others ever since then, but that was like how we really broke into it.
Thank you. Kit.
Hi. So I was born in Slovakia and raised in Germany, and when I got pregnant with Liva, everything like changed, and I was asking so many questions about where we and what we are living in. I think that was not my spirit, it was her spirit who started to ask all these questions. And yeah, and since then we are on this journey. She's now 7 years old, and I thought with 6 I have all the answers, but no, it's just the Pandora is getting more open and open and open. And last week a friend of my neighbor came to visit us. Just like this, he just said, oh, I'm coming around. I didn't even invite him. And he spent 1 week with me, and he said, oh, I always thought you have such an easy life, but no, it's so complex. You make so many different decisions. And from outside, it looks so easy, but when you're inside, it's not easy. Especially if you're living out of the box concept, mainstream. Yeah, but I think we cannot stop it. It's our children who are giving us this, I think, this quite strong will to help them to manifest their path, because it would not be my idea for sure, because it's not easy sometimes, often. Yeah, so we met Kate in Dominican Republic, where we joined the World School 2019. And yes, since then we are in contact, and yeah, it's a process we love.
Thank you.
And right now we are in Spain, living in Spain, and yeah. But Levi's asking me, do we stay here forever? I could not answer the question properly.
It's hard sometimes to answer questions like that. Cassidy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cassidy, and I'm based in Grand Junction, Colorado with my family. We have 2 little boys who are almost 6 and 4. I got pregnant when I was 19 years old with my eldest, and it was kind of a dark time for me. You know, they have a bad portrayal of teen moms in the media, and just all the voices on all sides were like, your life is over, your travels are over. And this was like really depressing for me. And I stumbled across some other travel filmmakers online, and I was like, whoa, look at what these people are doing. This is amazing. Like, they travel with their kids. I could travel with my kids. It doesn't have to end here. So I guess from the very beginning, we were just set up to travel with our kids. We have not put them in any kind of traditional schooling ever. We're just starting from the get-go in the world schooling. And we just had our first hub experience at the Hive this January and February. And it was a phenomenal experience for our boys. They thrived there. And we are just actively seeking out more experiences like that in the future. We keep a home base, but we travel probably 1/3 of the time, little like 6 to 8 week snippets here and there. And then we come home, and in our home life, we sell real estate, and my partner does rental properties. So that's kind of how we fund the lifestyle. So yeah.
Thank you. Ivana.
Hi. Yeah, I am originally from Croatia. I'm married to a Danish man that we have been married in 15 years now, and I also moved here because of him. And we have 3 children that are now almost 11, 8, and 4. And our changing life setup started for around 4 years ago, and it was a long period of many years of me being depressed and not really finding my purpose in life. And then life just threw things our way, and we ended up with traveling for 3 months with our kids. And we figured out when we came back that we can't continue living this conventional way of living, because neither of us was thriving in that. And we sold houses and moved away, and we ended in a situation with a house with a lot of insurances and things that drove my husband down on the edge of depression. And then we look at each other and said, okay, we need to change something. So we start traveling in the middle of the COVID. And when I was sitting and searching for places where we could travel, where world were open, it showed up. There was the Dominican Republic, and coincidentally that was Hive that showed up for us. And we jumped on the on that first session our first session was in November 21, and we stayed for 2 sessions, leaving last year in February. And yeah, and we our kids are unschooled, and we just live our lives as we feel for, from our passions and our dreams, and exploring our interest and things. My husband works full-time for a Danish company doing software for business intelligence, which makes the opportunity to travel around. And we are just touching the base here in Denmark, figuring out what we want to do next. But we definitely want to keep traveling and just living the way we did, or we do. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Sharon's just arrived. We've just been round, Sharon, and introduced ourselves and kind of said where we are in the world and whereabouts in our family journey we are, how we live our lives. You're on mute. Can you introduce yourself?
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Awesome. That's amazing, Kate, because that word that you used journey. That is the truth. It is a journey. I'm Sharon Jones, and I am located in St. John's, Florida. Most people know St. Augustine, which is just north of Orlando, like 2 hours or so. And so this is where we live. And myself, my husband, our 2 children that are 10 and 11, they don't look it. They're like huge kids, but we have had a journey. Our journey looks very interesting. Like most people, we actually we homeschool, but we homeschool with a co-op. And we started homeschooling in 2020. We had looked at it before, but we weren't set up to be able to homeschool at that time. But 2020 pushed us into it, and I am a flight attendant, and so I travel as well as homeschool. And so when I leave, we just have this tight way that we need to do life, you know. But when the world shut down, I left, and I was able to homeschool at that time, which was amazing. I didn't start a co-op. A friend of mine started a co-op with 5 moms. We put our lives and our talents together, and we started homeschooling, and we have done it with a co-op, and every year it has looked different. We started something different this year. We did classical conversations this year, and every year has been a different journey. Like, it's been wonderful. One of my passions, I am from the Republic of Panama. And so one of my passions is that my children, I love the US. So I'm not talking negative about the US. I love the US. I love where I live. I love the privileges. But I'm a person that believes that we're here to serve the world in different ways. And so I just would like our kids to have a little bit of a broader perspective if they can. And honestly, I don't know about you guys, but it can be a little bit hard to do sometimes when you're kind of here. And so immersing them into cultures and etc. was one of my passions. Now, I'd done it in different countries before, but there was a year and people kept asking me, I want to do this with you. I want to do this with you. And I started looking, and the Hive came on my radar. I reached out to Kate, and we set up something. I was able to bring 7 families, I think, I want to say, with us to have this experience. It was a smaller experience than what we normally would do, but I wanted to open this up to other people so that other people's mind could kind of open up a little bit too, and their children. And so we had a good time doing that. Was that last year, Kate? That was last year.
Yeah, last summer.
Last summer. We were planning through the whole COVID, so that ended up being a little interesting, but we had a good time. And so here we are. We are this year, I'm looking to see if we can go to Kenya and see if we can do something there. And so we're kind of praying and hoping that we are able to do that. And so I think that's us, but it's been a journey and it looks different every time. And when I try to plan, it might work out somewhat the way I plan, but it might not. But I'm learning to go with it. So
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a common theme with everybody that I've met, is that they're on a journey and there's no fixed idea necessarily of where they're going or even how they're going to travel there. There's a real openness and a trust in the process. Because I came from a really traditional background. So my family all live still in the same town where they were born, and they all raised their children in the local school. And I used to be a school teacher in the UK. And 5 years ago, I had a mortgage, and I had a very respectable job as an education consultant, and I had 2 cats and a house in the right part of town. And I wasn't quite feeling it, right? I was not happy. And I'm hearing that, come through from some of what you guys have been saying. And I wished that there were more to life, but I didn't know what more there was. And a friend of mine, we were having dinner one day, and she said, you should follow these people on Facebook. They live their life really differently. And maybe you should join this group on Facebook called Worldschoolers. And I did, and it was like an Alice through the looking glass moment for me. It just exploded my mind that there were families who had just left the mainstream. They just left. They left mainstream education, they left mainstream living, they left mainstream family dynamics. And they were just living these incredible lives all over the planet and taking their children with them and spending their time however they wanted to. And that was it for me. I knew that that was what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how I would make it happen. And so it just slowly, step by step, piece by piece, led me on my own journey. And so I feel like I'm crossing lots of you in the middle. So I came from like this really established way of living, kind of almost institutionalized, because I'd been in schools for so long. And when I got my freedom, all my freedom, I didn't quite know what to do with it all. So I ended up opening the Hive, and I opened it so it could be open all year round, so everybody could come all of the time. And then I realized I just moved my institutionalized life to somewhere else. And I had no freedom, still had no freedom. I couldn't travel. Everybody could come, but I couldn't ever go anywhere. So now it's only open for a section of the year. And I am now homeschooling and unschooling my daughter. So I'm kind of moving from the traditional, and it's been really fascinating for me and supported by all of you and everybody that I've met along the way, doing things really differently. And I think that's the loveliest thing about this community, is that everybody's so open and friendly and willing to share their top tips for travel and their top tips for raising kids and their top tips for places to go. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the biggest thing I had to change was my mindset, that it was possible. And once I had done that, and it's a series of letting go, it's a series of trusting in the process that something good will come, and that even when something good doesn't come, that you'll be okay, that you'll find a solution, and that, you know, there'll be something afterwards. I don't know. How does it feel for you guys?
You're right. I think you're right. I think when, you know, it kind of goes back to what I was saying, like you can plan something, but it may happen close to the way you plan, and then it may not. But when it doesn't, you pick what good things you can out of that situation. You know, yeah. I just this week, someone said, I said, you know, when life gives you lemons, you use them. Like, okay, well, what am I going to do with these lemons? Like,
make,
you know,
limoncello.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I like that, you know. And I've learned that about life, because life has lots of twists, and all of it hasn't gone the way I'd like or thought, or etc. But you know what? Along the way, I've changed, I've grown, and as I grow, my children grow, and my husband grows. And I would have he's not able to travel with me when I go. And I, even in my travels, I don't do it the way you guys do it. Worldschoolers was an eye-opener to me, and I want to go the way you guys go and live there for a year and etc. And I haven't been able to do the whole year thing, but I've been able to do a month or 2 months. And I take it. I just take what I can get, and every year has looked different. And I'm just learning to kind of relax in that and just go, this is what we were able to do this year, and it's better than doing nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of going off what Sharon said, I think like the idea of ditching permanent and ditching the idea that there's like a one size fits all model for every family is like what world schooling is all about. And it's going to look different for every family. We have a travel page online, and we talk to a lot of people who have sold it all to do their year of travel or 2 years or however long their sold possessions can last them on the road, right? And that's definitely one style. But then there's this other style, and it sounds like a lot of you are on this like mode of like having a home base as well. And it's totally, there's not a right or a wrong way. And like for us, like we'll go on a big stint and we'll be in one place and we're focused on that one place. And, you know, with world schooling, we might show up and we're ready to learn about, like, for example, the Taínos or something historical or cultural. And we're like, cool, they're going to learn about this cultural thing, this historical thing. But what we don't plan on is like the empathy or the teamwork or the patience or these other like soft skills that they're getting by navigating through the world and by having these like real life rich experiences. And I think that's the most invaluable part of world schooling, are like these things that you don't plan on learning, but are part of the process. And it's really going to set the kids apart, I think, in the long term. Like Sharon said when she first hopped on, like, we're all on a different journey, and to put our kids all through the same schooling program, to get shoved down like the same facts down their throat, to regurgitate the same things, it doesn't make sense, especially moving into a world where everything is so at your fingertips online. You can find all that memorized information so quickly. So what is it that we want to focus on when we educate our kids? I want to focus on collaboration and teamwork and cooperation and just kind of independent thinking, adding value to the world. And whatever ways, I mean, they can attain those skills through so many different types of experiences. So offer them the experiences and see what clicks, see what the kids are interested in. And that's the most beautiful way of learning in my mind.
It's really learning how to flow with life and just going with it. It's not all going to go the way you want it. The trips aren't going to go all the way you want it. The school or the pop-up might not really flow with the way your family flows. And then you just got to learn to keep it moving. I mean, I had an experience at a pop-up in Mexico for October, and it wasn't what I expected. So I just kept it moving with my family. And, you know, I was happy with what I liked, and what I didn't like, I just removed myself and my family and moved it around ourselves, and enjoyed Mexico on our own. It was wonderful. It got us out there, you know, I'll give it that. Met some people that were interesting and cool. But when it didn't work for us, we just kept it moving and did our own thing. I had my own plan. I always make a backup plan, start looking into the things I want to discover in a space, and then I just do it, whether or not it goes along with the plan I originally paid for.
You know? But that's a big skill in life, right? Being able to say, I signed up for this. I signed myself up for this, right? Like, I decided to do something, and I'm now this far in, and I'm not enjoying my experience in the way that I thought that I would. And I've taken lots of positives from it, but the negatives are outweighing, and I want to change. And to feel that you trust yourself and your instincts, and you trust your ability to stop, change direction, and start again. You know, I meet adults who've been on the same track for huge portions of their adult lives, in a job that they're not enjoying, they're not being fulfilled, but they don't know that it's okay to change direction. And what I'm hearing from all of us is this idea of flexibility and flow and moving in and moving out and changing direction and all of these incredible skills that enable us to take from life everything that we want to, and not allow certain elements of life to drag us down too far. And that's what I want for my children. I want my children to be able to do that, to go through life deeply where they want to go deep, and to skip along the top if there's bits that they don't, you know, to be able to navigate their own lives.
And I think the highest values what we like also try to give our children are flexibility and creativity. And especially when we're in the Western world, you know, we tell them that you can do everything what you want, but we are not living it. So we have to be the living proof and make it. And so the flexibility and agility, especially in time, like I believe that the world will be more unpredictable and things are getting really like maybe roughisher. So, and if you don't have the skill of flexibility and creativity, then you have sort of problem. And then you're even in the Western world and you are trapped. So this is like a super interesting paradigm, which when I watch my friends, they say, well, we are in the Western world, we are actually rich and free, but they are not. They're even trapped, not even from the mindset, but in physically, like being in you know, in debt and everything. Like even having a fridge is almost like a trap, because you can't think what's happening when my fridge is broke. So it's always good to go in a third world country where you learn to live without a fridge.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
and then you understand,
that
okay, if
in
I can do this, if I can that, then I can really feel free, because I know I could survive in certain kind of environments. And I think even this feelings gives you a feeling of being not strong, but yes, like a
resilient.
kind of surviving skill.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like when you think about, when I think about when I took my kids to the Hive, you know, we had a really great house, but you know, there was times where we didn't have hot water to take a shower. And then of course, you know, children, you know, most people, especially from the States, you have hot water always. And like they'd get in there and be like, oh my God, it's so cold. You know, I mean, really not so cold. It's hot.
It's not cold.
Okay. Like, let's be real. But like teaching them that it's like the luxury of America. Like I will speak from the American side, the luxury of living in America. You're not going to have that everywhere. And it's a culture shock when you go somewhere else and the luxuries that you're used to are no longer there. I mean,
no, and then you can even appreciate it even more.
Exactly. I mean, I spent a lot of my summers in Puerto Rico. My husband grew up there, and the luxury, even though it's American, it doesn't have the luxuries of America. So, you know, I grew up with, if I spent the summers there, water was really running low. It was like trickling out of the faucet. So you'd kind of be like in, you know, trying to get wet. You know? And the water, you know, somebody might not, it's not normal for people to have a hot water. So that, you know, didn't have hot water. So me and my husband were like ready for it. He walks into a cold shower like it is no thing, you know? I mean, cold, whatever, not like northern cold. But teaching the kids how to be resilient in those situations is a big, big deal. It's
because I think it will be a little bit more, like, that's what I think. It can be a little bit more shaky in the future, and like being able to resilient in different kind of environments, it's very helpful and it gives you confidence.
Exactly.
I think
I agree.
Confidence to navigate when they're older, you know? I mean, great to expose them now at the ages that they are, because it'll make them a more resilient adult, that they can just flow through life and not take everything to heart and, you know, move in whatever direction they need to move without being so stagnant and so stuck in, I have to do this.
But also kind of unhappiness. I mean, what I always see, you see the Western people who have everything, but they're not joyful. They're not really happy. And it's so interesting to watch that. And they're not even aware, like they are, but it's so subliminal that, because the question, okay, so what can we do? They're not even thinking there could be a different kind of, like they're afraid to open the Pandora.
Totally.
I mean, it's scary.
I think all humans grow like rapidly when they're forced to stretch outside their comfort zone. So I think in our family, we're constantly seeking these experiences that just kind of push the limit, push the boundary, because we as people expand to meet the circumstance. So by offering our kids experiences that push them and make them uncomfortable at times, I mean, I think they grow so much as people, and I'm so much more interested in that type of growth and development. I mean, my kids are young, they're 5 and 4, but like that's the type of growth and development we're prioritizing right now over a super academic one. And I know that's like controversial, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with letting like reading and writing and math take the back seat. And it's not that those things aren't important to us. It's that those things can exist in a cross-cultural, cross-curricular way, in a way that's rich and meaningful. You know, doing math in a way that matters. Like last weekend, my kid had a plant sale, and that's how he's earning money. And he had to make the signs, and he learned marketing, and he had to learn how to talk to customers, talking to adults, making change. So there was definitely math involved, but it wasn't like we're doing a math lesson today. It's like, we're going to do something meaningful. We're going to set a goal. We're going to orient ourselves towards accomplishing this project. And in doing so, you're going to cross off entrepreneurship, marketing, accounting, so many different things. And to me, that is the most rich education we can give the kid. I mean, and he's definitely out of his comfort zone, talking to strangers, making change, trying to ask people, okay, you owe me $4. Like, it's pretty uncomfortable for a 5-year-old to tell a stranger you owe me $4, but I mean, and that's just what we do when we're at home. But like you said, traveling, like last summer, we're in the Amazon in an eco lodge for a couple nights. And I got to say, like, as an adult, this was one of the most pushing experiences, just having nothing, no water, no electricity, being like hours and hours away from civilization. It pushed me. And I think it's good for my kids to see me as their mom push myself, because then they're going to see, like, it's okay to be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean you're hurting. You can be uncomfortable and survive it, and not just survive, but thrive because of it.
Mm.
I love
Yeah.
I love the collaboration, because I think in my journey, getting in front of, and so Kate, I just take a moment to say thanks for doing this, because I think that what helped me to actually do it, I was waiting for this like perfect scenario. My whole world school, like my whole family will get up and go, and that wasn't happening. And I was saying to myself, like, I was feeling this thing that was like, you got to either do it alone, or you're going to just be unhappy with yourself. And so I had to just go with the kids, like, just not leave my husband at home, but because he sent us, he's like, go, But at the same time, I think it is great. One of the things that helped me was I had a friend, and she went, you can do this, right? And so I went and I did it. And then the next time I did it in a different way. And then the next time I did it in a little bit more way. But the reason I say, Kate, thanks for doing this, is because I believe that because we all in different journeys, listening to people in different journeys helps at least me. It helps me in my journey to make sure that my decisions are being made for myself and my kids as to what it is, to keep them in line with what I really want to do, and not following, how you said, the Western world, or the this world, or the that world. You know what? Does that make sense? Like, when you have people that are saying, oh no, I was in the Amazon, we didn't have this. And when you hear the things that you hear from other people, sometimes it goes to yourself, no, that thing you were thinking about yesterday, no, you can do that. Or that thing you were thinking about yesterday, no, it's good, let's do it. Or whatever it might be. And I appreciate hearing other people's lives and what they're doing and their perspectives, because it keeps me in mind. Does that make sense?
No,
And
only here.
it's real people, right? Like, I was in my
Only here.
mid-40s when I started, and I've left it too late. I've got too many things. I'm too stuck in my life. I'm too ordinary. There's nothing special about me. All of these people who are doing this, they're like, they have these curated, amazing lives. When you look at it through Instagram, you have this, and it probably sounds silly, people who've met me, because now I'm living this different life, right? I live in a grass roof casita, and I have a sea view, and I'm completely free, and I have a goat, and my life could not be more different now than it was 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, I felt completely and utterly stuck in my life. And so you are all living extraordinary lives, but you're still making your kids dinner, right? You're still breaking up fights in the morning about who's got to do what, like, we're still living our lives as parents, and we're still living our lives as partners, and we've still got to figure out dinner and travel and all of the ordinary things. But we're doing it in a different lane, in a different way, to the beat of our own drum. And I guess, as Sharon said, I suddenly felt that if I'd known when I was 25 that it was possible to do this, then I wouldn't have spent 20 years trying to squash myself into a socially acceptable box, right? I would have
But I think it's
stretched out much earlier.
But isn't that the whole point of, we all coming from the different backgrounds, but the most of the societies teach you one thing. I was talking to my husband last couple of days about how many things I can see through now for me is like a modern slavery, because the mindset that is being taught to people is to fit in this box and stay in that box. And I don't care and I don't mind what kind of box it is, as long as you ask yourself, is this the right box for me? Like being a conscious about whatever we choose to live, instead of just doing it and passing that on to our children. So the way I'm doing things doesn't need to be the right way for anybody. But as long as you are asking your question to yourself, is this the right way? Do I need to change? And accepting that the only thing in life that is constant is that life changes all the time, and it forces you to change with it. It's the most brilliant and beautiful thing that change everything. It just shifts things inside out, and then you can start adding or taking or leaving or doing whatever you want. And that was for me the big mind opener. Like, okay, I thought that I fit in this box, but it was somebody else's box. So I'm gonna leave, and then I'm gonna figure out where I'm gonna be.
I think just all of what you guys, I mean, the last you, Ivana and Kate, and before that, Sharon, just speaking to the value of community. Like, I think just as humans, we all want to feel the validation of like what we're doing is okay and acceptable. And maybe that's why so many people are on this conventional path for so long. But even when you leave it, like you're either finding a group on Facebook or you're seeing these other people and you're like, why can't that be me? Like there's so much value in having a community. And even if they're not living the same life as you, just having people whose minds have been expanded by different experiences and who can offer you feedback from a totally different walk of life. I mean, that really stretches the way you think about things, and having the community is so important. And I think it's really, I mean, for us, it's hard here in Western Colorado. There's not a big community of world schoolers or unschoolers or whatever. So finding a community online and at the Hive, I mean, we met some incredible people at the Hive, and we're going to be meeting up with them again this summer. There's so many opportunities to meet people online though, and through these different hubs who are like-minded and who can speak to this different kind of non-traditional lifestyle and push you towards your own pursuit, your own relentless pursuit of creating whatever life it is that you want as the individual.
Definitely, yeah. We had the same experience. I mean, for us, the Hive and the community living around the Hive gave us so many insights. Like, it was so inspirational. It was like, oh, you were early retired and you did this and you travel half of the time and you come from this background, and just mirroring the differences that are around are incredible, and taking that with you. I mean, we met some people and live with them during the 2 sessions in Hive, and then we continue traveling with them, and then we said goodbye to them and meet with some others. We figure out that even though we love living this life where we are 5 and pursuing our own interests and passions, is amazing, but still we do need community. So when we are looking for our next travel, we are looking and reaching out where are people in the world that we want to connect again, that we want to keep traveling and keep touching this kind of base of what is out there, and how can we continue to give each other the feedbacks and the mirrors and new inspirations and ideas to continue this.
Totally. Being around all those other people just shows you what's possible. I mean, just gives you ideas and sparks, and you don't need to follow their exact path by any means, but just to see like, these people are doing it this way, and wow, I really like this portion of it. How can I work that into my own style and my own family's flow? Like Kessia was saying, like finding your travel flow, finding your education flow, finding like the rhythm that suits your family best. And I think that's another big reason a lot of us like left the traditional or refused to enter the traditional lifestyle, is because we did have this other rhythm that was louder and that we wanted to kind of work and tend to.
And also the feeling of having really choices, and then you can make the choices. I mean, this is like, I mean, my friends always give me the feeling often that they have no other choice. And I'm like, okay, when I was in Dominican Republic and I watched the people that don't even have a passport, say they don't even they have a passport, they cannot go to some countries. And I was like, okay, so this is the luxurious thing what we have. We do really have lots of choices, and we can really make them, not even dreaming about them, right? So, and I like, wow. So I think, and like, and then again, as a role model for the kids, we have to show them, okay, we can choose. So I always tell Levi, you're not a tree, so we can move, right? That's why we have a body which can move you, and now even faster. Boat, train, it's like goes even faster than 100 years ago, right? I mean, I'm not promoting this, but it's like, this is like, wow, you can just move in 10 hours. You're in a different continent if you want, and then you can try. I mean, this is what I really appreciate, having this kind of passport, having this kind of blessing that we can do it. I mean, like, I'm having limited amount of money, like, but even with this kind of money, I'm being able to do these choices. And my friends are saying, how you do this? And I say, you know what, but my life in Germany is sometimes even more expensive than going in a different country. And they said, no. I said, yes, I can show you full transparency if you want to see, but they don't even believe it. So you see how blocked this is. Yeah, but the choice that we really can. And if you don't like it, like I always, even if I don't like when I have the experience, but I know, because I did it, I will never regret it. Sometimes I would just think, what if I would not go to Dominican? What if, yes? But then I know, and I never regret. I regret mostly what I don't do. So I have to do. So I have to do it. I mean, being on my own, it's easy, but then having a child, and I had so many sleepless nights because I thought, okay, is it responsible? Do I take away something for her? She will maybe end on the street because maybe she has no degree. Like, this is like my biggest fears, right? But then
That's
I
all
like
of us.
met literally people who never went to school, and they're pilots, and they're this. And I saw them. That was not even in a newspaper. I saw them. I said, wow. So and then I met so many people that have degrees, and they work in a Aldi or Lidl or McDonald's, and I like, interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, the messages
but
that we're given, right, about what we have to do in order to be okay in life, and they're nearly always got something to do with fitting into a box, or staying in a lane, or not shaking things up too much, or just be normal like everybody else. And I really did grow up in that world. I really did believe that people who lived alternative lives did so because they couldn't cope in the real world, right? They couldn't make it work in the real world, so they left. And it could not be further from the truth. Everybody that I've met who's taken control of their lives and changed the narrative of what family life can look like, they're the strongest and the most resilient and the most open and the most creative and the most interesting people that I've ever met. And this whole idea that there's dragons out there, right? That if you leave the mainstream, you'll never get back in. If you take your children out of school, they'll stay behind forever. Like, no, they won't. Anything that they've missed can be put in later on. If you have children who
and even faster,
confident,
Exactly.
and even faster
later.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even faster. I mean, I met a boy who never went to school, and he made in 3 months. In 3 months, he made the A levels for Germany. In 3 months, he bought tutors. They told him in 3 months that this, and he made A's. And if he would go to maybe normal school, he would never make it. Like, he spent 13 years, right, doing the same stuff. and he would not having A's because they were so bored. You just make it like average, right? So in 3 months he made it. He was 17. He decided he wants to do it just like a game, and he made the tutors. In 3 months he had A levels done.
Totally. I think like even as adults, the way we learn isn't like devour all this information in hopes that one day we'll need this skill. Like we learn on a need to know basis. And when a situation presents itself where we need to acquire a new skill, we go out and we acquire the new skill, and we're able to because we're humans and we're agile and we're flexible. But the idea of like pouring information down our throats that may be relevant, may not be relevant, has no context, just never made sense to me.
No, definitely me neither. I like Kate. I come from a really long line of educational, and I've been in a system for so long time that my husband now makes jokes and said that I'm totally against the systems, and I love to be critical, and just taking the question marks all the time. But for what really matters for me, and in considering to our children and the new generations that are coming, the way that are aligned with their passions and dreams and needs, I can't see how that part can be less valuable than the thing they learn academically. And I had such a beautiful moment last night with my son that is 4, and we just at a moment we decided we want to try to be a little bit more healthy and don't consume so much sugar. And he got like a little bag yesterday with some candies, and he came to me last night and said, "Oh, when can we stop this thing without the sugar? My heart desires candies. I can feel deep in my heart this desire for candies." And I said, I totally understand that you desire it, but we're just gonna have a little break. And he looked at me and said, "I don't know how I can do it. I always live my life through my heart desires." And I look at that child, he's 4, and I was like, oh my God, how blessed you are. And I hope everybody's going to do that. Like standing here and saying, I live my life through my true heart desires. I think that's the most important thing of all. No matter how we choose to live.
Great fundament.
Yeah.
And not in a book, and not in a fairy tale, like in your house, in the real world.
From his heart, and from so young, and you learn from them too, because they're learning and you learn from each other. I thought that was beautiful.
Our best teachers.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, without them we wouldn't be on this journey.
No.
Yeah, sounds like you're setting the example. He didn't just like pull that out of thin air, and we are setting an example. And I think a big part of the traveling journey too, like we, sometimes we get some pushback online about how, this might be selfish for the parents, or, is your kid really going to remember this experience, or what are they really getting out of this that they couldn't be getting at home? And to me, I mean, it's like, you can't set yourself on fire for your kids. And I think like setting an example of being in constant sacrifice for your children isn't setting a healthy example to begin with. And I want my kids to know that like things that are important to me, regardless of my outside relationships or even my familial relationships, and that we're allowed to prioritize things that we want to do in life.
I mean, on that note, one of the highlights of the Hive was that for the first time since I had my first child, I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old, we had never been alone. And once we became parents, that was it. We were always with our kids. And then it was kind of like and then I was already homeschooling before I went to the Hive. And so I am with kids all the time. But then like, I'm a person, we're people, we're a couple. Like, what about the health of our relationship? So the Hive was also a bonus with the kids going to school all day, and then we could do whatever we wanted all day. It was I was all about it. I've done a pop-up as well, but like I like put the kids and then I get my own time, because we don't I will speak for myself and lots of my friends. We don't ever put ourselves first in that situation. And I've gotten to a place where, like, I was a person before you. I like to do certain things, and I need to find my way back to that. And with my husband as well. So that's a big deal as well.
And we show up
It
so much
sure is
better
a big
for our
deal.
kids. Sorry, go
You're
ahead.
right. You're right. It's that. Yes, I totally agree. Because like I said, when I said it's looked different in different years, it's looked different. That is very, very true. Also making sure that all the way around we're healthy, kids, husband, wife, me as a person, because like you said, I was a person before you, and I think I'm setting you up for failure if I feel like everything revolves around you. No, we all have a place in this world. I think it's a healthy thing for us as a family to grow. I think it's a healthy thing for you as an individual to grow. And I have to show you what that looks like as well. And so I completely agree, but that's not spoken about a lot
Never.
in our culture, in our world, in our homeschooling, that's not spoken a lot. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
I mean, I read something one day about who are the most important people in a family. And, most people will say the children. I mean, I don't personally feel that. I mean, they're wonderful. I love them. But it was like the parents. The parents are the most important equation of the family, because if they're healthy and they're happy and they're thriving, then that emanates to the entire family, and that the whole family dynamic changes. Because, and it's the truth. I've noticed it. It's the way that it is. I didn't have kids and like turn my life around to accommodate the child. I brought the child in. I chose to be pregnant, chose to have children. And then I brought those children in, and then they acclimated to my life. And that's the way we've worked our situation here. I'm like, I'm a person and I matter.
And we talk
we get
about it
lost
all
in
the
this
time. In our house, we talk about it, right? Because we're on this journey and every day is taking us somewhere new. And if we are ever starting to feel like the balance is off, we talk about it and we say, okay, what can we change? We've ended up in this place today and we're feeling this way. Is there something we need to change? Do we need to do, a bit more of this or a bit less of that? And this whole process of being able to change your mind and change the way you do things, and that allows you to stay alive and be in relationship with your children, with the people around you, with your friends, with whoever you work with, until finding flow and finding your groove and finding balance, right? That is fleeting. When you get it, you know it, right? It feels like you hit the perfect tennis ball and you're like, whoa, or like wherever you find it the first time, and then you realize you can have it in the whole of your life. Like, that's a really exciting idea, but it's not constant. You're not constantly in flow and in balance. It's a practice, and it's something that you have to work on, and you have to be open to say, I've given too much to my kids. I need some back for me. I've got too much for me. I need to give some back for my kids. And you're always, or my family, or my partner, or my whoever it is, right? And you're always moving around to try and find the sweet spot, right? There is a sweet spot, but it moves.
And the pivot is so valuable for the kids to see. I mean, for the kids to know that like it's not about the ego. It's not about like, I'm right and I decided this, so we're doing this. Like, the kids need to see, oh, hey, I tried this. I'm willing to try new things, and I'm willing to accept if the new thing isn't right for me, and I can edit my life and I can change it and I can pivot. And like Kit said, I'm not a tree. I can move, I can change. And like, I think the kids need to see that, like, just because you were set on doing something doesn't mean you need to like commit your whole life to that. Or just because someone else says something doesn't mean you need to do it that way. Like, let them see you pivot. Let them see you be willing to change, willing to learn, willing to grow through the experience too.
That's definitely a valuable lesson. Like with the hive, especially my daughter. So they can, what's the word I'm looking for? They can gripe. I like to use that word. They can gripe through a lot of things, right? But guess what? Like, when I put you in that situation, okay, gripe if you like. And there was a part of me that felt like I brought you there to be uncomfortable. And yes, I don't care for when they gripe, but at the end of the day, what I've seen is any transition takes a while before they get used to it. And that's what it's about. Like, it's about you getting uncomfortable. You're not going to like it at first, but guess what? Once you find to pull out the good in whatever it is, that's when you're growing. And like you said, when we're examples of that, like, we're putting ourselves through that. So when we put them through that, even within our family dynamics, how you were talking about, Kate, I think that alone is a absolutely amazing gift of life that we learn, you know?
Yeah. Well, I guess we're coming to the end of our hour of talking, and it went pretty quickly. It's lovely talking with you all. This is something that I want to continue doing. I want to continue talking, chewing through the bits that we have in common, uncovering the bits that we're doing differently and learning from one another. And so there'll be more Changemaker Chats. I'm going to put this out on our podcast. I'm going to turn it into a podcast for the Human Hive, and going to put little bits out on socials. And if you're watching this and there's something that you would like to introduce to the conversation, or you want to be in a future conversation, then comment and let me know, and I will get in touch with you. I'm going to put up everybody's Instagram handles and where you can find each person, because we're all doing our own stuff, and it would be just good for, I think, for all of us to connect with more people who are out there being change makers. So for today, I just want to say thank you to everybody, especially those who've come back and done this twice. And this time we've recorded, and I've managed to not run out of battery, so progress is being made over here. And yeah, I'll let you all say goodbye in turn.
Thank you guys all for being here. It's really great to meet with everybody. I just wanted to let everyone know I am in the process of building a world schooling map right now that is going to link to all these different hubs we've discovered all over the world. So if that's something of interest to anyone listening, you can find the link for it in our bio over on Instagram at Living Unconventionally, and it'll have all sorts of cool exclusive discounts for all these different hubs and educational travel opportunities around the world.
That's great. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for sharing your heart, sharing your life, sharing your perspectives. Thanks for listening with an open heart. And Kate, again, thanks for this. I definitely want to continue to be part, even in my own crazy little schedule. I will make, even if it's 15 minutes of time, I will be there.
Thanks, Kate. This was wonderful. If you're thinking about world schooling, just do it. Just do it. That's all. That's the only thing you can do. Not too much planning. Just get it done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity and for being here and exchanging this way of living and way of thinking and way of being. And I'm definitely gonna keep following and being here, change making.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Speak soon. Take care. So that brings us to the end of our first family edition Chats with Changemakers. If you want to contribute to another one, or if you want us to discuss anything in particular, please follow us, send us a message, get in touch, and hopefully we can support you on your journey wherever you are. Take care.